I think it's only fair we start on the defensive side of the ball. All the shit I've been talking about the linebackers, they're making me eat some crow tonight, man. They looked really good. Kobe played really well, and then obviously the splash plays, Dom having 2 picks. That crew answered the bell, bro.
It's rudimentary. Hey, defense, make this team one-dimensional, stop the best running back in the country, and force this quarterback to beat you on third and long, unadvantageous situations. Let our dogs get after QB. Win the third down battle like we have. And take our shots when they're there. It could be pitch and catch, but we're going to have to step on the gas a little bit. It can't be like that because we know going forth that it's going to need more than just that. So, man, shout out to Penn State women's volleyball. Got it done. I hope that's inspiration to our boys. That, hey, I'm sure that the vibes are very high in State College.
Got one natty already. Yeah. Congrats, ladies. Enjoy it.
Quarterback sneak right side. Touchdown, Penn State!
This segment's brought to you by Family Clothesline. They kept us looking sharp all weekend. I'm currently wearing one of the Lulu Polos. It's a Family Clothesline exclusive. Make sure you guys check out Family Clothesline for all of your Penn State apparel needs.
And B, we're back, bro.
Yes, we are.
We're back, and we're still alive. We're still swinging.
Still fighting, still in the ring, standing strong at that.
Yeah, I'd say we're more than alive after that performance. But man, what a way to start the inaugural Penn State playoff berth. Before we get into, a little bit what I expected. What initial takeaways, and then let's dive into the rest of the games too, because I thought that was really interesting.
Gotta pour up a little bit, man. Cheers to the squad for that performance.
Speaking of which, B, yeah, we'll just cover that. So as always, thank you to our sponsors. Family Clothesline, and B's sipping on a little blue white bourbon from the folks over at Hidden Still. And we're gonna get you guys a Ziebart segment this week as well. Defense showed up. So the Ziebart defensive play of the game will be here as well. But B, thank you for making that segue pretty easy. Of course,
what we're here for, baby. But yeah, you said it.
Overall, and then let's dive into the playoff. Yeah, a little overall, and then let's dive into the game. What'd you see?
Well, week 1, man. Obviously. So it's the talk of the country right now is did the committee get it right? All the games seem to be slightly lopsided. It's a tough look, but I think it had to go this way to kick it off, right? Gotta play it by the book per se, and I think we're gonna see it alter. If the next year's up and coming. To maybe a 9-3 Bama does get in over a 11-1 ACC, second runner up. But I think they had to set it up this way to start. Unfortunately, the games played out how they did. But as we know, college football, you never know. It easily could have been quite the opposite, and everyone loves the committee for the decision. So it's a tough look. I get it, but. Nonetheless, it was still some great football, college football going on.
Yeah, it was good to have it. I give you that. I think they kind of had to do what they had to do this year. It was just funny, though. I was at dinner with some friends, and this came up, and my exact statement was, next year it's going to be the 5 best teams from the SEC, the 5 best teams from the Big Ten, and then whoever the fuck else can somehow draw straws and get in there.
Indiana caught that fire too. If you say top 5 Big Ten, Indiana kind of fell short of that mark as far as they were top dog or one of the top dogs in the Big Ten, and didn't quite seem like it when it came to playoff time.
Yeah, no, listen, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you're talking about Indiana. I think Curt Cignetti did a fantastic job year 1. He flipped the roster. They obviously have a ton of NIL money behind them. You're going to get the whole revenue sharing. I think Kirk's, he was playing with house money. So like all his arrogance and all that shit in the media, he was playing with house money. He'd already won. He just signed a 10-year contract for 80-some, like whatever, however many million. Like, dude's good, playing with house money. They got out physicaled by a Notre Dame team. But I think like it's crazy to see where I think he's going to be in like 2 years if he keeps it going. Yeah. Maybe Indiana is a mainstay. I don't know.
True.
I'll take them out of it. Like Michigan was a little disappointing. Like I think you can, but I think realistically speaking, on a normal year, you're going to have a Michigan, a Penn State, an Ohio State, potentially like a Michigan State, Nebraska, Indiana, something like that is back in the fold. And then, you're going to have 4 to 5 good representatives from the Big Ten, most likely. And then on the flip side, the SEC had plenty that you could choose from. But to your point, I think one of the things we talked about was like that test of like 2 ACC teams. Is that really warranted? Is there a larger conversation about where college football is going in terms of conference strength and merit? And I mean, even Clemson, man. I mean, they tacked a couple on there late, but they were getting boat raced pretty good by Texas, and it's not the same Clemson we're used to seeing from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019.
Yeah, and I thought they'd go in there with a little bit more fight. Thought that was a big time opportunity for them. Like you were talking about SMU and Indiana, who were, we didn't quite expect to be as good as they were this year. So, with their games, it was a little different. But Clemson, you still kind of hold them in somewhat of that regard, obviously, with Dabo leading the helm to where, like, okay, they're going to compete and they'll make things tricky. I think I said that going into it. But, yeah, that one kind of shocked me. I thought they'd show up a little better down there in Austin. But just speaking on the, like you said, probably the top 5 or 4 Big Ten versus SEC, I think you get the top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
I think the bottom ones is going to be straight eye test. Yeah. If, let's just call it Indiana is the 4th best team in the Big Ten, regardless of who they played, it's just going to simply, how do they look against this opponent compared to how a SMU looked against this opponent, or who else is out there? Maybe a Pac-12 team against this opponent, Mountain West. But to the point, it's going to be the best. It's going to be a bloodbath these next few rounds. They're not going to play around with this the first round next year. And people are going to be upset. They're going to be upset regardless, obviously, whether you get left out of the 12, think you just made it. My biggest gripe is not Alabama not making it in. Obviously, Roll Tide Nation is strong, so you hear them the loudest. My biggest gripe is Miami not making it. I think they could have made a lot of noise. Just with Cam Ward and offense, mainly I'm thinking of. Yeah. Obviously, their defense struggled all season, but I just think that would have been good TV, great ball to watch. And who knows what could have shaken with that. So
old school Miami Penn State match.
Yeah, that would have been one. I think it would have been a lot more points than what we've been used to in those battles. But nonetheless, man, people are going to be upset moving forward. There's going to be a lot of those smaller programs, maybe like an SMU, who believe they should have a chance. It's a shame that the first go at it is ultimately going to kind of
dictate.
Dictate how the future goes. But we'll see.
We saw that with Cincinnati a few years ago. Listen.
Yeah.
My biggest winner of the entire weekend, and I hate to do this to you, B, is the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Ooh, yeah. No, you called it. I called Indiana, but you called Ohio State.
They looked really good, bro.
Yeah, Ryan Day, man, you got to give him credit. All those players, they've been listening, hearing all the chirping and this since November 15th, whenever that Michigan game was. And I think they just put their heads down and went to work and said, hey, come December 21st, whatever the date was, we're going to show everyone what we're about. And they showed Tennessee. I thought the Vols would come out a little a little better, but man, Ohio State on the road. I didn't give enough credit to the Columbus crowd, and obviously that's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I mean, Volunteers showed up. I don't know if you saw. Their fan base was out there.
They did.
The Orange was strong.
They did, but man, I was expecting a little more out of the Tennessee team. That game did scare me a little bit. Like just matchup. I thought Tennessee had really good edge rushers. I thought their offense was dangerous, but dude,
Yeah.
they got spanked, and Ohio State.
They look good.
Yeah, if you just talking for real, if they could play that level of ball consistently here for the next 4 weeks, that's a really good football team. But that kind of begs to differ. You know, I'm looking at this now, right, and I think it's going to be really interesting because I don't know if there's a hangover effect that's going to happen with these next few rounds, especially the teams that had buys. I mean, you know how it is, bro. Like you go into bowl prep. You have a couple months off. Usually that first quarter's like sloppy as hell, right? But the problem is you're not playing another team that also had the same amount of time off. Like these guys just played last week, so they're a little bit more in like game rhythm. They're still in season rhythm, and you've been chilling. You'll probably be a little more fresh,
Right.
but in the grand scheme of things, like I'm curious to see if there's going to be some type of just extra bye week hangover associated with some of these football games here coming up.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say, man. Like we talked about going into those same bowl games after a few weeks off, ball security and tackling. That's the main thing everyone preaches. And to your point, the teams that just played, like us, you know, we get some of those things out. You know, maybe you drop a few balls, a few fumbles, miss a few tackles, kind of get those jitters out, get those like you said, that first quarter woes out, to where this next week, you know, these teams, are they going to be able to afford that to happen in the first quarter against some high level opponents? You know, Boise State in our matchup, we'll get to that later, but playing the best team. Well, they played Oregon, one of the best teams they played all season. Arizona State, one of the best teams they've played all season. Can they afford to start slow and have those woes? We'll see. That's a very valid point. I'm sure it's something a lot of the coaches are thinking about. That's going to be a true testament of coaching. If you can get your guys to come out full tilt after 4 weeks off, graduation, you know how it goes. Now, it's not just the weeks off. It's what are these kids doing? You know, school's out, finally done. You know, winter's here, Christmas. There's a lot going on, a lot of distractions. So that's going to be a major deal, and I hope we can capitalize off of it.
No doubt. Well, let's before we get to that, let's go back to this one. SMU came up to Beaver Stadium. Boys come out with a 38-10 win. I think it's only fair we start on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And I think all the shit I've been talking about the linebackers, they're making me eat some crow tonight, man. They looked really good. Kobe played really well, and then obviously the splash plays. Dom having 2 picks, and a pick 6. Tony having a pick 6. That crew answered the bell, bro. And you know, in all honesty, I'm happy that I'm the asshole that was hounding them here for the last week and a half, and they proved me wrong, because that's what we needed to, I think, get the result that we got, right? Like they played a very, very good football game. Game kind of played out what I talked about in terms of getting SMU in a hole, making them one-dimensional. Kid kept making mistakes. We kept capitalizing on it. And then really, I think, like, just, again, 10,000-foot view, you know, our offense didn't really have to do much, man. Yeah. I mean, Nick and Katron looked really good running the football. Drew had kind of just a pedestrian day, but
he plays when he needed.
Yeah, I mean, when you got 14 points before your offense even has to do anything, it's pretty. That's a damn good head start. And it's really hard to get mad at anybody to do anything. So I mean, for me, just 3 sacks. SMU not ill prepared, but it was just like one of those games where at once the first pick 6 happened, and then another, like that, I felt bad for the kid. He couldn't get anything going, and then it was like just when it rained, it poured, dude, on him, and they just. That's the thing too. Sometimes with that fast-paced offense, I feel like it's hard. Like if you get in a good rhythm, it's great. You get in a bad rhythm, it's really hard to pull out of a bad rhythm.
Yeah, it's like a streaky shooter going cold.
Yeah,
It's like I don't know what you do to get out of that kind of funk. Like you said, down 14 off rip.
Just gotta keep shooting.
Yeah, man, you said it. Linebackers, I always preach it whenever time I get a chance to speak to those guys. Make the plays. And, they've definitely made plays all year. We've talked about Dom. He's had, I think a few interceptions here. But they came out to play. After that Oregon game, you touched on it, that second level of the defense is really going to determine, kind of the RPO game. Starts with shutting down the run in the front with the front seven. But that middle layer, we saw weaknesses versus Oregon. We talked about that blueprint that I'm sure a bunch of teams are still looking at. And, man, they shut it down. They shut it down, made the plays. Outside of the interception, the splash plays, like you said, Kobe's flying around. All these guys, man, sideline to sideline. SMU had some speed. You saw guys making some guys miss. And they definitely had weapons, like we talked about. But I think our overall team speed just kind of corralled and kept on corralling, which is what we talked about. The front guy gives love to the front seven, Abdul, Devon, all those guys. They kept coming down in and down out, and we look good, man. We look solid. I know. I think I kind of joked on the Twitter space with like a 42-7 prediction. We laughed. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm joking."
Yeah.
But man, I mean, shoot, maybe I gave too much credit to them, not really knowing what they were about. Just seeing, obviously, they've had explosiveness all season, and not enough credit to our defense. But, man, I was damn proud to see Dom DeLuca. I mean, he's out there with no gloves. Come on now. No gloves. Talking about how cold it is.
Hooping,
man. So, yeah, super proud of those guys. Super proud of DBs. Played a pretty good game. Obviously let up a touchdown at the end. But, well, like I said, they have guys to make plays. The quarterback made a pretty good play on that play, too. Not really spoken about. A little too late. But, yeah, man, I could talk about the defense all day. We'll get into the Ziebart. Now, if let's get into the Ziebart right now while we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
And we talked about it, man. Got to kick it off with Dom DeLuca. And we're going to go two plays here. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Ziebart Defensive Play of the Week. Got to go with Dom DeLuca, number 0, the Italian Stallion, coming out of PA. You see him there. He's the lone backer lined up in the middle. Just going to let this rock. Reads the young QB's eyes. He airmails it. And catch the ones they throw to you is what we always say. That's a dream play right there, right into the student section.
Yeah, take the Nittany Lion track all the way up.
Right. Get up in there with the Nittany cheerleaders, do a little dance. But no, Dom, man, hell of a game, like we said. That's a dream pick right there, right into your lap. And then we got to go 2 for 2 with the young buck, getting busy. Kind of like you said, felt bad for this QB. But you see Kobe King here, rushes QB. He notices, drops back right into the window. And then this is just pure talent. You can't coach this right here. He was an all-star running back in high school. You saw it right there with the vision. And then the long speed to stretch it. Not going to lie. It looks good. I can't wait to see what more he brings to the table these next few years.
Yeah,
awesome play. And like you said, once that happens, you see it on his face.
Yeah.
That's tough to bounce back from.
Yeah, and then he had the one that got tipped up and grabbed again by Dom.
Yeah, we're not.
Just like, gosh. But dude, Tony, to speak to Tony, man, like we've been hard on him. There's been some things that he's got to brush up, but the one thing that you and I have said consistently all year is when you build traits of a linebacker. Yeah. Top to bottom, like God-given traits, kid's got it all. Yeah. I mean, he's got the speed, he's got the willingness and the eyes to arrive as well. I mean, he arrives a lot. It's just whether or not he finishes when he arrives, and it's just I think those are all things, like you said, he was an athlete coming out. He played running back, played all over the place. So I think those are those things that you get, and you could probably speak to this more than I can, but just I wasn't really ever running through a motherfucker's face. I was getting my face ran through sometimes. But he seems to have a lot of what you want, and I'm really excited to see his development over the next few years.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, we've been somewhat harsh on him just because we've seen the potential, and that's
I wouldn't even say hard. We've been giving like supportive criticism as former guys. We want to see our guys do well.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's what he appreciates. I'm sure he's getting that from the coaching staff. Just because, once again, like you're talking about, we see the athleticism, the size, the traits, the willingness, like you talk about. I mean, this has been a lot of, what they say, built like Tarzan, play like Jane. He's built like Tarzan, but he's, like you say, run through a motherfucker's face. He plays like Tarzan as well. So that's what we just want to see, all of that come to fruition. Because there's so much more that he's capable of, man. He's at the right place to do it, to be developed, and we'll see it. And he's coming alive right before our eyes. The big moments, man, that's the things you can't teach either. The big moments, making it happen. A lot of guys may drop the pick at one, maybe they catch it as they should, but then to get busy with it like that, not just go down first tackler, second tackle attempt, man. It was special. So, Tony, got to keep it coming, baby. The competition going to get better. We got a tough opponent, maybe a little bit more downhill this next up-and-coming matchup, but we'll get to that after Hack wraps up the offense.
Yeah, listen, like I said, I mean, when you get spotted 14 points, ain't much you need to do. I thought we ran the ball really well again. Nick looked good. K-Tron was able to get in the end zone when we needed him to. They both averaged about 6.5 yards a carry, so splitting carries again. But I always say, like, running the football and physicality to the line of scrimmage travels. We've been able to do it now for 2 weeks pretty well. I think we're going to need to do it again this week. Yep. But the other things, like I like getting Trey Wallace involved early. We were able to just get him some touches. Like and that's the thing is, like, I don't think it needs to be these splash, like, catch run 70 yards, 40, 60, 80 yard plays. Like, there's still an element of, like, just being able to get the ball in your hands early and get in the flow of the game. I think that's good for our receivers. He can keep doing that. I think it's only going to help Tyler, down the line. And Tyler, what a pretty pedestrian day for Tyler Warren, but still was able to make some plays for us. But again, they did what was asked of them, and they played the hand they were dealt, which was a pretty good one. Pocket aces, you don't got to do too much. Just keep it between the lines and get it from point A to point B, and they were able to do it enough. So was pleased with the offensive performance. Do I think that that's going to be – they did what was necessary. They didn't do anything more. I think eventually you're going to have to start doing more. Fortunately, we get this Boise State game here next, which is another one I think – as long as we can make them one-dimensional, I think force the quarterback to beat us again. It's very similar. I mean, it's not hard. I think it's a game that we like our chances. Then you start talking about big boy play. You're either going to get a Notre Dame team or a Georgia team that's physical, can present some issues for us, and you're going to have your best players play their best in those moments. And unfortunately for us, fortunately and unfortunately for us, we don't get that until the semifinal. Yeah. So, we'll see how it kind of plays out. But that's my synopsis of it, man. It is what it is. It's an easy path. Beggars can't be choosers. We got to roll with it, and we got to make sure we continue to do what we do. But at the same time, I think there's a little bit of we got to push ourselves offensively this week to do more than what is necessarily required, because there is going to be an element of that eye test heading into that college football semifinal matchup if we're able to get it done against Boise State.
Yeah, that was going to be exactly my point, man. Going into this Boise State match is, how do we, put forth the gas on that part of, like, obviously we want to run the ball and we're going to do that. And hey, if it's churning the way it's supposed to be churning, it's the game's going to be rudimentary. We'll say it like that. But to your point, man, is especially with our outside weapons, that only bodes well for the future. How do we kind of spread the wealth, get these guys touching the rock to feel confident? Obviously, we handle business at Boise State to go into a Notre Dame or Georgia and say, hey, we've been. You've said it all season. How do you peak at the right moment? Yeah. We can't chill for 2 weeks and try to turn it on out of nowhere against the best athletes in the country. So how do we kind of accelerate it? And I think we kind of, Coach Kotelnicki kind of has to maybe switch up, even if the path is easy and we can run the ball, is maybe we do go hard play action instead of just handing it off on 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 8, and try to push the gas, push the envelope to some of the playbook that we might not use in this situation because we're handling the game. But hey, let's try to work some of these things in. Is that how it goes in offense? I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. I think there was a little bit of having to get this one behind us, and I think that's a tough. These are tough waters I'm wading in right now. But I think for Coach Franklin, like that was a big one, I think just like making sure that you get this. Now, I think Penn State's in that situation where if they're able to get past this Boise State team too, they're playing with house money, similarly to what I said about with Indiana. Like, I don't think anyone expected Penn State, regardless of path. Like, I don't think anyone expected Penn State to be in the college football semifinals. So if they're able to get past this Boise State team, I think there's a little bit longer leash to try some things here. From a coaching staff standpoint with Kay and all those other guys, they get past this one. And I think at that point, the gloves are off, dude. I mean, you really can't dip your toe in the water in those situations. So, yeah, I think to your point, like you're going to see a different level of intensity, a different level of game planning, and a different attitude towards some of those situations in a game, right? Like even if you're up 2 scores, like I think you're still going to see maybe a little bit more aggressiveness in those scenarios. So, for me, I think coach and the program's just trying to get themselves in a position where they feel that they're playing with house money, and they can play freely in the sense that they don't really. The result isn't necessarily what they're chasing anymore. They're trying to do everything they can to win. I don't know. I'm having a hard time like articulating the positioning that I think that they're in, but it's like it's like that bell rings in the 7th round, and you're like, we've gone long enough. Like this thing could go to decision, and we could potentially still win it. But like, nah, like we're gonna knock this dude out, type of thing. Like I think you're gonna start seeing some more of those types of aggressive play calls from here on out.
Yeah. I think to your point, I think we're gonna have to do that. Because the game is simple. As easier said than done, but it's rudimentary. Hey, defense, make this team one-dimensional. Stop the best running back in the country, or slow him down, 1st and 2nd down, and force this quarterback to beat you on 3rd and long, unadvantageous situations. Let our dogs get after QB. LBs, drop in the zones, make plays, read the eyes, man up, whatever we got to do. And then offensively, let's stay on track. Win the 3rd down battle like we have, and take our shots when they're there. And it could be pitch and catch, but we're gonna have to step on the gas a little bit. It can't be like that because we know going forth that it's gonna need more than just that. So I'm looking forward to this, man.
Yeah, I mean this kid. Madsen, I think's his name. He's only turned it over 3 times.
He's playing good ball. I'm not going to say
like he's playing good football, man. So I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've been able to run the football so well. Just being completely transparent here. And I think a guy like Genty is still going to get his a little bit this week. So there's an element of that we got to be prepared for.
Yeah, it's the explosive. That's what we have to cap. Yeah, because they're not going to give up on the run no matter how successful we are. And we've seen it in the games he's played. He's going to the second half with mediocre numbers until boom, he busts that 70-yarder, similar to like a Saquon in a different fashion. But they're going to keep handing it off. He catches that sliver of daylight, in a power scheme, counter scheme. They block it up right. He's one-on-one with the safety. You missed that tackle. He's out the gate for 60, 70. And they're going to keep up with it. So, we got to be sound all game. But to your point, he's going to get his. I'm not expecting to go 0 yards, but it's those explosive plays what gives them life. So that's going to be the deal breaker.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for it. We got the Fiesta Bowl. What's it, Tuesday? I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
So gotta get in this bowl schedule. But
indoor arena.
Indoor arena.
Talking, we play a little faster. Indoor Drew, indoor Nick Singleton.
The tight track.
Yeah.
But excited about it, man. Do you got anything else big picture, B? I mean, I don't want to go too crazy here. We got Christmas this week. Want to wish all the listeners a happy holidays, whatever you're celebrating.
Yes, sir. The only thing I'll touch on, I mean, we saw young Ethan Grudemeyer in the game, and you touched on Bo. Transfer portal, nothing we need to deep dive on that. Wish him the best success. I believe he committed to Missouri. But just I like that we had a chance to get him in the game, and to your point that he's now the number 2. Obviously, God forbid, knock on wood, he's needed. But to your point about pressing the gas, we've seen the situations where Bo comes in and kind of that's just been a part of the package where he's running no huddle and it's a different element. And I believe they say Coach Karanaki has all the belief in the young kid. I'm just wondering, will we see it, or is it the total Drew show, kind of like we've been hoping for?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Bo's just had so much game time under his belt. I still don't think you're going to go off of a few series and a couple passes in a lopsided victory, putting the kid out there in those types of situations. I still think it's not even that. I don't even think it's a question of like whether he can do it or not. I think it's just more so like you got to protect the kid, right? Yeah. Like because I mean, just imagine, bro. Just imagine you roll him out there, and like he throws a pick six when you're going in to score on something stupid. Like it gets kind of like that Kevin Jennings one. It gets tipped up in the air at the line of scrimmage. All he's doing is throwing like a smoke screen or something, and the dude picks it and goes. Like what that'll do to his confidence will be brutal. The way he'll get bashed, like you got to kind of protect the kid.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's like the risk reward for getting him involved is not. Although he may want to be, it's just I just don't think it's necessary.
No, fair point. But yeah, I think that wraps up, our Nittany line portion. Big picture. What do you see going forward for these next? I guess we can rap about it.
Yeah,
we have a week. There's a week in between. Am I wrong? Are they playing next week? Is that next week already, or is there a week in between?
No, they're playing New Year's Eve, bro. Next week.
Okay. Shit. Yeah.
Boys are playing New Year's Eve.
Who we got? Georgia, Notre Dame. No Carson Beck. We have Ohio State, Oregon. Oh, wait. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas, Arizona State.
Texas, Arizona State, yeah. Let's start with Texas, Arizona State. What are you thinking? Texas got a nice little path, too.
I know. Texas does have a nice path, and I think I've been on the Texas train all year. Got a couple injuries for coming off that Clemson game up front, but I still think Texas gets it done. The Ohio State, Oregon ones. I mean, there's a real
twice, man. It's always
it's tough to beat a team twice, and there's a real argument that that's a national championship worthy game. Yeah. Ohio State's going into that right now as we sit, favored by 2.
Ooh.
But like I said, this is maybe there's a little bit of that sitting element here too. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
that is what it is. Penn State's 10.5 point favorite against Boise, and then UGA's holding 2 against Notre Dame. So, and if Texas is favored by 14 over Arizona State.
Oof, that's a slap in the face.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going off of that, it is what it is. I am excited. I think these will be a little bit closer. I still think you're going to see probably what you expect to see. I don't think we're going to get what we want to get until the next round in terms of just like straight pick 'em toss-up games.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're not buying into no Carson Beck?
I'm not buying into it, man. I think Kirby's done a good enough job. Like, I'm just telling you, I think. And again, this is not my college football math coming out, but if that defense can play the way they played against Texas the first time, they've shown the capability. Like, that was Texas coming into that game offensively was one of the hottest offenses in the country.
Yeah.
And they were able to make them just look completely inept. Yeah. If that version of the Georgia defense shows up, I think they could beat anybody. It doesn't matter who they got playing quarterback.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But it's just a question of if that version of the defense could show up. You know?
Yeah.
So it's still Georgia. They've been the heir apparent to the throne of college football for a few years now. I think Notre Dame's a great story. I think they're really tough. Great running back, good defense. I don't know if I can trust Riley Leonard.
Yeah, no.
And he could come out and surprise me, make me a believer, but
I said the same thing about Will Howard week 1 against Tennessee. He made me.
What'd you say?
I said the same thing about Will Howard week 1, round 1. He made me a believer. So I get that. I'm with you on that one as far as Notre Dame, because they're not going to just out physical Georgia like they did Indiana and get it done on the ground. It's going to come down to Riley Leonard making some plays, man, with his feet or mainly with his arm. His feet's going to be important too, but mainly with his arm. Those boys are strappy on the outside and they're coming after you on the inside. So it's going to be tough, man. I like Notre Dame's defense, though. I will give them credit. They've been stingy.
Al Golden.
Yeah. Shout out to Al Golden. But it's still gonna be, like you said, an uphill battle for them. And that backup quarterback that came in, he's been around. I feel like he's gonna wheel and deal now with 2 weeks of preparation as a starter. He's gonna wheel and deal, I think, just fine. Ohio State, Oregon, man. That's once again Ohio State has the primetime matchup. It's gonna be tough to beat a team twice. Although I do think we talk about those first quarter woes of sitting out. I don't think We're not gonna see that from Oregon. I think Dan Lanning. Dylan Gabriel, 2 vets. I don't think we're really gonna see that too much. I don't know how that game's gonna go. Part of me wants to believe we may not see as many points as what we think. Maybe a little tighter. They know each other, more familiar. I'm thinking we're going to have a 30-plus matchup. I think it'll be a little tighter. Both defenses will hone in. And it's going to come down to the end once again. Like, what'd you say, 2-point favorite, Ohio State? That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then Texas, Arizona State, I'm not going to lie, I do not know much about Arizona State besides Scatterbo. And similar to Boise State, one running back cannot win the game at this junction. At least I don't. They shouldn't. I think all these teams
not
are too
in today's
good.
game, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be a key factor for sure.
Jackson got dropped in here and reincarnated.
No, for real. Hey, it's just what it is. What it is. He'll get his. He'll be success, or he'll find success. But as the road narrows, as Coach Tomlin says, this time of year, the road's getting narrow. The quarterbacks have to make plays. So that's what I believe in. The top teams have top guys that are going to have to do it. So, looking forward to it nonetheless.
I am too, bro. I think that's a good little preview. We didn't really say much, but we said something, and that's what counts. Because I think you and I are both pretty calculated. I'm excited to see when the lights come on. But I am excited for Penn State, similarly to what you said about Texas.
Man.
Pretty easy path. You're favored by double digits. You got to get it done. And we'll see what the future holds. But for now, pass one test. checked one box, and for that we are thankful. Oh yeah, last quick thing. What'd you think about the Generations of Greatness uniforms coming out for
Hey,
this?
I didn't call it, but I said I hope they did. I love that they pulled that trigger. Perfect for the snow, winter's here, all that jazz.
Yeah.
I loved it. I think that was a little outside of Penn State's nature from what I'm used to, as far as like,
I think so.
stepping out of the shell in certain situations. But I think the situation called for it. I really liked it a lot. Obviously, the snow game, whiteout, first playoff game. And I'll be remiss, Coach Franklin, 100th win as a Penn State coach. I think that's pretty cool, to have that uniform tied into that. Yeah, that was cool. That was very cool.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll stick with it, which is fine. I think I leave it for that. Leave it for home game, whiteout, first round.
Yeah.
That part of history is like encapsulated now with those uniforms. It's pretty cool to tie in. Hopefully, like the older generation appreciates that and whatnot. Along with it.
Yeah, I think it was a little tip of the cap. I appreciate it as well.
Sure. So, speaking of tip of the cap, before we get out of here, shout out to Penn State women's volleyball. I've been following these guys. Coach Crowley, amazing. Caroline Jervicius, had a chance to talk with her a little bit this past springtime. Shout out to Kolka, kind of connected us.
Yeah.
Because him and her dad go way back, obviously, 94 squad. But, man, shout out to Penn State women's volleyball. Got it done. I hope that's inspiration to our boys. That, hey, I'm sure that the vibes are very high in State College.
Got one natty already. Yeah, I love it. That's a good call, B. Yeah. Congrats, ladies. Enjoy it. And that is another episode of The Pocket. We will be back. Stay tuned. Like I said, we teased you guys a little bit. We're still working on some things, but there should be a new merch store coming. Stay tuned with some content coming out of the new merch store. And B, we will wrap sometime next week after hopefully another
2025.
2025. I'll catch you next year, my boy. I'll catch you next year, my boy. But after hopefully another impressive Penn State victory. So thanks y'all for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week.